Tomorrow's technology today, securely wired to the cloud. Welcome to our on-demand executive webinar series, where we educate C-suite executives and IT managers on the latest cybersecurity concerns.
Cybersecurity, protect against the evolving threats. Let's meet our presenter. With over 20 years of technology and business experience, Lisa Niekamp-Erwin is the president and CEO of Tomorrow's Technology Today in St. Henry, Ohio. Founded in 2002, Tomorrow's Technology Today is a technology service provider servicing companies across the country. The core focus is building a great company with great people that do great work. Lisa has developed a unique cybersecurity service for businesses. Cybersecurity means layers of protection and implementing an enterprise-level solution that is industry standard without breaking the bank. Lisa's the author of Sitting Duck: Why Your Business is a Cybercriminal's Ideal Target, and on the day of release, Sitting Duck reached bestseller status on Amazon.com, reaching as high as #1 in 10 categories. She's also a member of several boards and was the Toledo InfraGard president for the past 6 years. Lisa is married to her husband, Frank, and they have 2 beautiful daughters, Brittany and Brianne. She grew up showing horses and has given this passion on to her girls. So beyond technology and horses, Lisa enjoyed watching her daughters in ballet and gymnastic productions. Both girls are now in college and med school and still have horses and show as time permits. Lisa says, "I love this business and the opportunities and friends it has brought to my life. I wouldn't trade this for the world, and I hope it shows in the way we do business. We love what we do. Of course, some days bring us great challenges and other days bring us great rewards, but that is technology." Welcome, Lisa Niekamp-Erwin. I think you're muted, Lisa. There we go.
Here we go. So let's get started. So here's what I'm going to share with you today. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about what a breach is, what is ransomware, what is the cost of a breach, how do you prevent a breach, and how do you recover from a breach. Ultimately, we're going to show you how to avoid being that sitting duck to the cybercrime world and protect everything that you've worked so hard to achieve. So let's get started. If you hang on to the end, I have a free bonus for you. We're going to do a free external vulnerability scan and a ransomware risk assessment. Oops, went the wrong way there. All right. So over the last year, there's been significant increases in the sophistication, the frequency, and the severity of cybercrime attacks. Because of this, we want to reach out with those trends and try to putting in place new technologies, protocols, and services to protect our clients. However, many of these things have worked in past years are no longer effective. Plus, the attacks are becoming more frequent, more vicious, and carrying bigger consequences. This is why we're going to talk to you about this today. This is very real, this is very serious, and the threats are escalating. We want to get this information out to every business owner and into their hands. We don't want to assume that everyone knows what a cyber attack is and how it happens. Simply, a breach is when an external source enters into your technology environment to gain access to your data. The FBI says it's no longer if, it's when. So what is ransomware? This is the most common attack these days. It's a type of attack on your business that holds you hostage. Once your network is infected with ransomware, you're in a sense called locked down. If the attacker was successful, you won't be able to open any documents, run your accounting system, or anything that's on your local network. And it's going to be shut down in a sense. They're going to demand Bitcoins in return for the key to unlock your files. Small businesses, actually every size of business is vulnerable. And we put these kinds of service protections in place, but it takes a single click of a user and they can bypass several layers of protection. So how do hacks work? I like to use the analogy of breaking into a house. They plan, if you have a thief, driving around the neighborhood, they kind of plan and figure out what house can give them the most bang for their buck. In hacker world, it's called social engineering and using the dark web. The dark web is a place where there's data held that buy and sell transactions happen to provide that information to the hackers. So they figure out how to get in there without being detected. In the cyber world, 80% of the time, it's from an email. So if you get an email and somebody clicks on the link, it can allow them access into that network. So once they're in that network, now they're in the house. And it's dark. They have to figure out what room they're in, where they want to go, what computers have the best data, what folders. And once they figure that all out, they start to steal that data. There are actually various jobs in the hacker world, and this is how they make their money. If they find valuable intellectual property, they can sell that. Credit card numbers, HR information, company intellectual property. China is willing to pay for American intellectual property. I hear it so often. I don't have anything they want. If this was truly true, how would you be in business? Somebody wants something from you because you're in business. So somebody's buying from you, so you're part of that economic system. So then the final step to a breach can be ransomware or malware or crypto mining. With all the hosted applications, many companies feel these computers are disposable. But unfortunately, hackers have now taken it one step further and can leave your computer inoperable. And that's at the BIOS level, the actual system boot level. Not too long ago, there was a big Exchange server attack. So hackers were searching out hosted Exchange servers at companies that were on premise. And one of the things that they were doing in that attack was they were putting a payload into that network, and they were leaving the computer BIOS useless. So in a sense, they were able to hack into the BIOS of the computer, and when it boots up, it's now a brick. So they've taken it one step further in even just getting data. So the picture I have here is we're talking about how they get into the planning, and the middle part here is where the enumeration, laser pointer, is where this is the part where we're watching out. So you've got the planning of the hacker. They're seeking the target, they're doing the research, and they're figuring out how to attack. Then you have the enumeration, the intrusion, and the lateral spread. That's how they're getting through the network, figuring out where everything is and what they want to accomplish from it. And then the ultimate is the completing of the objective. So they're stealing that intellectual property, they're deploying ransomware, and they're trying to destroy that network. This middle part here, where the enumeration, intrusion, and lateral spread, that's where the new technology is able to watch for that kind of thing. And if you have a security operations center, they keep an eye on that. And when they see things like that happening, they can stop it. They isolate that particular computer and stop it from the spread. So ransomware demand is typically related to your worth. And the amount of ransomware that they demand, they feel based on the information that they find in your network, they figure out how much would you reasonably pay, but still be painful, that you would pay it. And then that's how they set that price for ransomware. So even though the number of files that they lock up, that kind of information kind of plays into it, but what would happen to client A may not necessarily be the same price client B would pay. So can you imagine that you're coming to work after a nice long holiday weekend? You're refreshed from some time off. Maybe you got caught up on some backlog. You had a chance to work on the business instead of in the business. You log in and your personal files are encrypted. Do you know what you would do? So there's 3 ways to recover from ransomware. The first, you restore from backup. The second, you rebuild your systems and you start from scratch. And the third is to pay the ransom. All 3 of these ways are painful. And you also have to remember there's a good chance that they've extracted data. So if you decide not to pay the ransom and you restore them from backup or you rebuild your systems, they still have your data and they can still use it to extort you, extort money, because they're going to use that for blackmail, saying that I got this data, I'm going to expose it to the dark web, I'm going to expose it to other hackers, and if you don't pay me, I'm going to do that. The other thing to think about as you're going through this is the steps that are going to happen if you get caught in a ransomware attack. So what I want to do is talk you through what kind of cost, so you can take a look, so you can kind of think this through. So take out a pencil and paper, and let's start with who or what department is still able to work without a computer. So in our office, probably the only person here that can probably work a little bit without a computer is our office manager. The phones are still going to ring. The email is still going to happen. So she can still start to keep gathering data. She can use pencil and paper, notebook, and keep things going. But after that, everything in our office is all part of a computer. Is it the same way in your office? So if your email is in your office, there's a good chance your email is going to be down. If your email is hosted at a third party like Microsoft, or maybe you're one that's still using your internet service provider, those emails are still going to happen. But now your computer was in the office, and you probably left your laptop at the office. That's locked up. So now you need a different way to get to that email. You probably have your email on your phone. You'll be able to get to it that way. So now you're doing all your business through your phone, right? So you got to think through all of these scenarios. If you have remote workers and they were not VPN'd, connected into your network, there's a good chance that they're okay. But if they had that VPN on, there's a very good chance that that system's locked up too. So what can your employees do at this point? If you have local applications like a Peachtree or QuickBooks, good chance those are going to be locked up. If you use QuickBooks Online, that will be working. If you have a CRM that's online, like Salesforce, something of that nature, that's going to be working. Now, again, your laptop's locked up. So either you're going to be using your mobile phone, or maybe you have one of those computers in the back room that you use as the backup in case something happens. So if that one was offline when this attack happened, you can pull that out. Now, before you do anything in your network, you've got to make sure you understand how that breach came in. How did that compromise happen? Until you solve that piece of the puzzle, it's going to happen again, because you've got to close all those doors. So if somebody clicked on a link and it allowed them into the network, there's a good chance that they found another vulnerability. And like one of the vulnerabilities lately was, it was called Print Nightmare, which took advantage of the print spooler, which is on all computers. and it could use a system level approach to get credentials. So if they took advantage of that vulnerability, now they're all over your network and they've planted different seeds. So you've got to have somebody that knows and understands the forensics and is able to figure out how that happens and make sure all those doors are closed before you start to rebuild. So one of the things, making sure that you're off the internet. If you see a ransomware attack, make sure it's off the internet and contact contact somebody that really knows what they're doing and can understand the forensics of it. Now, if you're thinking through this and can start to feel a little bit of the pain, that security services that you need to pay monthly for doesn't seem so costly, because it's going to put those layers in place that's going to help you keep that protected so that they can stop that kind of breach. It's more important about how to stop that spread because it's going to happen. So how do you prevent a breach? After you have your house in order with all the layers, you have a security solution there that's taking care of what we call an endpoint detect and response. We have something that's doing a managed detect and response. Somebody's monitoring all the patches, making sure that they're getting applied to computers. You're making sure that the backup is happening and that you're able to restore from a backup. So you get all those layers in place. Now you need to focus on your employees, because that is the number one way that the intruder gets into the network. Honda of America last summer, that's exactly what happened to them. They had a remote worker that was VPN'd into the network. They clicked on a bad link. Didn't think a thing of it. It spread through their network, and because they're all connected, it spread globally. And that's exactly how that ransomware shut down all of their plants. So if it can happen to Honda, it can happen to you. And I was at my daughter had her engagement party this weekend, and so I was talking to a couple of her college friends, and we were talking. They're like, "Oh, you're in cybersecurity," asking me more questions about it. And there was two of them there, two different companies, two of her friends. They both had experienced a ransomware attack at their company, and I'm like, "How did it feel? They were like, "We were angry. The employer is supposed to take care of us so that we can come to work, do our job, earn our paycheck." And so, you got to be diligent about making sure that your business is running. You work so hard for this that you've got to put those layers in place so that you can stop these kind of attacks from happening. Remember, they really truly do want to earn their paycheck, and they expect you to run the business like a business. So I want to tell you another true story. We had a manufacturing client. They send their payroll hours to their accountant. The accountant processes the payroll, very normal, right? Fortunately, the owner of the company always kept his finger on the pulse, on his financials, on his bank accounts, on his credit cards, and always got the alerts. Well, he got an alert that an ACH transfer happened, and it was unusually larger than normal. And he knew it was payroll day. He knew that ACH transaction was going to happen. Well, he knew it was payroll day, came through larger than normal. Called the payroll company, called the accountant, found out that here there was something that happened, that somebody got in the middle of this transaction and changed routing numbers and changed routing numbers and change amounts on those deposits. So they went through all of the things to change, so they changed the passwords, changed authentication codes. They did all of this via phone and email. Nothing was transpired between phone and snail mail. Nothing was translated into email, okay? So the same thing happens again. And they're like, how can this happen? We've just changed everything. The bank's like, we don't have a compromise. This has only happened to you. And the accountant's like, I don't know how this can be happening. So what it turned out, so this time, when it happened again, it happened later in the evening. And they had spammed the owner's email. They saw how he had detected it before. And so this time the hacker got smarter. So he spammed the email thinking that ACH transfer was going to come in at a different, at the same time, but it's going to be surrounded by all these other spam emails, all these other emails. It's going to get missed in the mix, kind of thing, and you won't see a difference there. Well, fortunately, he caught it, but this happened in the evening, and the bank wasn't open at that time. Now they were able to get a hold of one of the bankers, and they were able to do a stop what a bank calls a kill chain. So there's a way that they can take that ACH transaction and stop it no matter where it is into the process. Only certain banks have this capability. So that's one of the things that you want to ask your bank. Do you have the ability to do a kill chain? And if they say, I don't know what that is, let's talk about that more. I can help. That was part of the InfraGard information that I got. I can help. We can help educate them on how to get part of that, and make sure that your bank is covered for something like that. So what turned out, now the accounting firm was not our client. They called us, we gave them some advice. They wanted to work with their IT person. They felt that he had it all under control. So my takeaway from this, they ended up replacing the router, so the firewall. So my takeaway from it is that the only way that this could have happened was that there was what we call a man in the middle. So they had exploited, they had an outdated firewall. They had, and I had mentioned that to them. And it wasn't up, so it was outdated, didn't have the latest firmware, all that information. So the hacker figured out the IP address. They got into there, figured out what kind of router it was, what kind of firewall it was, figured out what kind of vulnerabilities they were, and they were able to plant what they call a man in the middle. And a man in the middle can just simply read the data that goes across it. So they were able to intercept that ACH file, modify it, and send it on. And then they did that a second time. So once they replaced that firewall, we no longer had that issue again. We went through and changed all the credentials again, but my opinion, there was a man in the middle there for that firewall. So, my advice to my client was, what do we do? And I'm like, I really think you should push back on your accountant. Number one, they're not being good stewards of your data. If they're not keeping their firewalls up to date, they're not keeping their computers up to date, what else are they not doing? Do they have security in place? And as a business owner, you need to push back to your vendors and make sure they're doing that. You need to make sure your accountant's doing the right thing. You need to make sure your bank is doing the right thing. Anybody that you're working with, are they protecting your data? So what we're trying to do is help you get started. We want to eliminate those speed bumps to get you protected from the cyber criminals. So what I'd like to start with is just a simple 10-minute consult. let's talk about your current network. Maybe you don't know much, but you know enough to know whether you're really protected or not, or whether you need to ask more questions of your technology company. How we can do this is we start with a vulnerability scan. We can scan from your from your public-facing IP address and tell you what kind of vulnerabilities are available there. We can also run what we call a fake ransomware payload, and that will tell you how much of your network can, in a sense, get ransomed. In your handouts, you can go down to the handouts there. I attached our secret sauce framework. What we have are these 12 boxes that these are the way that you protect your business from a cyber attack. So by looking at these and talking with your IT, with your technology person, whether you have somebody in-house or whether you work with a third party, make sure you understand, are all these boxes checked? Are you taking care of the things that you need to take care of? So the two things to know about my 10-minute consult: there is no obligation to buy anything. I am simply here to educate you and help you. And by filling out the form, it just makes it easy for me to stay organized and contact you at your convenience. So here's how you apply. This is the website to go to. It's just called tomtechtoday.com discovery call. And we will send you a confirmation email, and that has a booking link in it. And then you can book an appointment with me. So I know you're extremely busy. There's enormous temptation to discard this, shrug it, worry about it later, dismiss it altogether. I'm sure you're thinking, I'm sure my IT person's got this all under control. But you know, as the business owner, it is your obligation to know that this is under control. You've got to make the right choices. I can guarantee this. At some point, you're going to have to deal with a cyber event. So hopefully you'll be brilliantly prepared for it, experience only a minor inconvenience, and you wait. But if you wait and do nothing, I can practically guarantee this will be far more costly, disruptive, and a devastating attack that will happen to your business. You spent a lifetime working hard to get where you are today. Don't let some low-life thief operating outside of the law in another country take that away from you. And certainly don't hope that your tech's got it covered. So get the facts and be certain that you're protected. If you're protected, awesome, you're ready. If you're not, you know, this is going to get you the questions, or you'll know the answers to what it needs to happen. So this is how you apply, and I'm going to ask Amy, is there any questions out there?
I don't see any questions right this second, but I was going to give them a reminder that if they have any questions at all, go ahead and throw those into the question section right now, and I'll make sure we get those answered. Again, it really is a great idea to just hop on that discovery call and just start the conversation. I know that's a great way to get those questions answered if you have more than one, aren't sure where to look or who to ask about something in particular. I know Lisa can help you get all of that answered. So I'll give you a couple more seconds here to see. I don't see anything popping into the questions just yet.
I must have done a thorough job.
I know, and we have a shy crew today, maybe. I don't know. They're all quiet after lunch.
Maybe I scared them all away.
Hopefully not. You didn't scare them. I see some people in here. There are some people in here, but we need to make sure that they get those questions answered. But again, probably the best way to get multiple questions answered is to just hop on that discovery call.
And don't forget to download that 12 ways to prevent the cyber attack.
Absolutely. Go ahead and click on that under the handouts right now and get that downloaded.
And that's kind of like our basis to our discovery call, having that conversation about that.
Yep.
And it's okay if you don't know all the answers. At least
Great.
now you'll know the questions to ask to get the answers.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to say that they are not going to type any questions in today.
All right.
Okay.
We're going to wrap it up with that. And I really do. I appreciate everybody joining me today, taking time out of your day, because I do know it's very busy, and we're all working towards that ultimate goal. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope you got some great information out of it.
Thank you for viewing this episode in our series. To learn more about our next presentation, visit www.tomtechtoday.com/free-executive-webinar. We look forward to seeing you there.